Hello, I'm Dylan.
And I'm Keon.
And this is Trust Your Doctor, that podcast where we go all the way to Norway for a 2-second conversation, because this week we watched Army of Ghosts and Doomsday.
Written by Russell T.
Directed by Graham Harper. Hell yeah, Graham Harper's back.
And aired on July 1st and 8th, 2006.
I assume this is directed by Graham Harper because it was made, I think, as part of the same production block as Rise of the Cybermen and Age of Steel, which were also directed by Graham Harper, and it would make sense that they're made of the same production block because then they wouldn't have to bring, like, Pete and Mickey back.
Yeah, and this season was recorded or made very out of order to when it aired.
Yeah.
So
Probably because of the actors and not wanting to have to bring them back, like, 2 months later for stories.
And the Doctor and Rose not even being in Love and Monsters.
That too, it's all over the place, basically.
Same with the quality.
Not wrong. Anyway.
At least this season finale was semi-decent.
Semi-decent. Part 2 was worse than Part 1 for me.
Yeah, that's pretty much been the case in all two-parters.
So, it begins with Rose.
Begins with a monologue by Rose, and you know what? I have to say, I really wish they would have done this multiple times throughout the season, or like maybe in the season opener. Not sure how they would have fit it in any way, but maybe just had it at least once before in the season, so it doesn't feel so out of place here. Like, this is how I died. This is my story.
Yeah. Although I feel like we would have the same complaint if it had appeared early in the season. We would have been like, this feels really jarring and out of place. And I don't think we would have, when we watch it, these 2 episodes anyway, would have been like, oh, that's why they did it, is to make it feel less out of place, because we would have just been like, it's out of place in the first place.
Could have just done it in every episode, or just had Rose be a running narrator through all episodes. That would be annoying.
Yeah.
Possibly.
Anyway.
Well, possibly. I don't know about that.
Yeah, so she says this whole monologue about how this is the story about how she died, and she used to be a regular girl, but then she met a man called the Doctor, and they ran away together, and now she's gonna die. And then there's a scene we've never seen before, the way they're like standing on an alien planet, and the Doctor's like, how long are you gonna be with me? And Rose is like, forever. The Doctor's like, right.
Talk to me at the end of this two-parter, Rose.
Hey, Rose, remember that time the Beast was like, you're gonna die in battle? Good times, right? Good times.
They cut back to the present time, I guess, with Rose and the Doctor visiting Jackie.
Yeah, she's like going home for her, I don't know, bi-monthly visit or whatever. To have her mom do all her washing for her. Like,
Yeah.
The TARDIS doesn't have a washing machine? Seriously? It has a swimming pool, for Christ's sake. So, mom's like, wow, you always bring me washing. She's like, oh, your granddad's gonna be here in a few minutes. And Rose is like, wait, what?
Yeah, you're going insane, Jackie. Granddad died 10 years ago, so, get with the program. And Jackie's like, no, it's just this ghost, don't worry. It's just this spooky,
Scary.
terrifying apparition.
And Rose is like, now you're really losing your mind. And then the ghost shift occurs, and a ghost walks in, and Jackie's like, see, it's your granddad. And the Doctor's like, I don't think that's your granddad.
Rose is the same thing. She's like, yeah, I don't think that's granddad. Jackie's like, no, it is. Trust me, it just feels like him.
You can smell that old cigar smoke, and the Doctor's like, sounds like a psychic link, to be honest.
And I mean, I guess when they reveal what's going on later, like, yeah, maybe it is actually granddad, but in a non-granddad like form.
I mean, maybe. Jackie's like, when the ghost phases out, because it only sticks around for 2 minutes apparently, the Doctor's like, interesting. And Jackie's like, well, you can't deny that they're not human, right? I mean, that they are human. And the Doctor's like, yeah, but I mean, like, a boot print doesn't look like a foot, or a footprint doesn't look like a boot, or however he says it. I think the footprint not looking like a boot makes more sense based on what's revealed later.
Yeah, they have this whole thing about how they look human, which is kind of weird because they just looked humanoid. They didn't really look human. They didn't really have
and I'm really surprised Rose didn't fire back with, well, the Doctor looks human. because the doctor does look human and he's not. So they've got like prime evidence sitting right in front of them that they're not necessarily human.
But whatever, the Doctor and Rose are skeptical about the whole thing, and we see the people in charge of the ghost shift. They basically pull these two giant levers to to start the ghost shift. So
it's Torchwood.
So we automatically know right off the bat. Like they just kind of reveal what's going on. Might have been more ideal to keep it a mystery for a little bit longer.
Maybe.
But then again, right now we get two lazy employees who want to go make out or something. So they
want to go have a snog on work hours.
So one of them sneakily and totally smoothly is like, "Hey, I'm gonna go check the thing." So
and Yvonne's like, "Okay, cool."
Yvonne's
like
in charge, yeah. And then, not 2 seconds later, the lady comes up and she's like, "I'm gonna go check the other thing just to be sure."
Do they not know that you have to stagger your release your times? You have to stagger your leaving times by more than 2 seconds. Anyway, Yvonne is in charge, and also this is Torchwood. There's a big Torchwood logo on the window, and that's how they reveal that it's Torchwood. And yeah, so one of the two lazy employees is played by Freema. I don't know how to say her last name, and I'm not going to attempt it right now until I find out because I'm really going to butcher it. Who comes back next season to play the Doctor's next companion, and they just write off the fact that she looks exactly like this girl who died in this episode by saying, "Oh, it's her cousin."
Wow, I didn't know that. It's interesting.
But that's not for 2 episodes from now because we have the Christmas special between now and then.
Yeah. Anyway, they die. They go into they wander into a great set, just a great, absolutely fantastic. It's engaging, it's interesting, it's just plastic draped everywhere.
You could say that about the ghost shift room. I was amazed they turned a white wall into a set for the story. Just really pushing the boundaries of low budget television making.
A few scenes later, where it looked like they were just blasting white light in everyone's faces.
So
I mean, we skipped the entire, I think, part with the ghost. Maybe that's in a minute, but yeah, we'll get there. Anyway, they both die. They wander into this construction area, and the guy dies.
Yeah, and the girl follows him. They have names, The guy's called Gareth, I think. The girl's like Adela. I don't really know.
It doesn't really matter.
Yeah, and it doesn't matter because, like we said, they're dead. So they come back, and Yvonne's like prepping up for the next ghost shift, which is in the afternoon, I guess. So the Doctor, meanwhile, while the second ghost shift is prepping up, has started to set up some
stuff.
Yeah, some stuff. There's this mildly humorous scene. I thought it was pretty funny because I think David Tennant plays it really well, but Rose comes into the TARDIS and is like, "So what are you going to do, Doctor?" He's like underneath the TARDIS console, and then he just comes up and is like, "Who are you going to call? Ghostbusters!" And he just starts dancing to pseudo-Ghostbusters-esque music.
Yeah, well, since you bring up the music, we can talk about the soundtrack in this. I noticed it a lot more than I usually do because a lot of it's more melodic than it usually is.
Mm-hmm.
I thought it was pretty good. It was kind of annoying in like the first 15, 20 minutes of the episode, but after that, I thought it was pretty good. Like when the Doctor and Rose finally get to Torchwood, there was some pretty creepy and interesting music playing. So I thought it was fitting.
Mm-hmm.
But I thought the first 15 or so minutes of this was just pretty bad because of like the weird humor that didn't land, like the Ghostbusters stuff. I just thought was stupid. And like, yeah, I don't know. We see the ghost shift occur, and Jackie info dumps poorly to the Doctor that the ghost started appearing 2 months ago, and first everyone was freaking out, but now they're all okay with it, and it's just a worldwide phenomenon.
Yeah, there's also this thing where the Doctor keeps putting on like stereoscopic 3D glasses, and I was like, this is just a dumb thing he's doing, isn't it? But then they actually explain it later, and it actually has a purpose, and I was like, wow, good on them for actually explaining that. Anyway, so the Doctor's like triangulating the point of origin for the ghosts because he wants to know where they're coming from, obviously, and while he does that, Torchwood gets a beep that like somebody's perturbing the ghost field. And I was like, there's a field? There's a ghost field? What is this?
Yeah, you didn't know about the ghost field? Wow. Anyway,
And
they apparently they have security cameras set up in the exact park where the doctor is because they see the TARDIS on camera.
yeah, and she's like, "Ah, man, it's the doctor, and he's probably figured out that we're doing this. He's probably gonna come here, load up the military boys. Let's go capture him." And somehow she's just completely right in this assessment because the doctor like materializes the TARDIS with Jackie inside. I might add,
Accidentally, he didn't mean to bring Jackie along.
Yeah, she was just inside the TARDIS when the doctor dematerialized with what he thought was just Rose, and the doctor's like, "Oh, hi, Jackie." So they land, and this is when the doctor says what I think is his funniest line in this entire episode, these 2 episodes actually, and maybe even this entire season. But they see on like the scanner the people outside have guns, and Rose is like, "They have guns, doctor," and he's like, "Yeah, and I don't." She's like, "Yeah, you're gonna get shot," and he's like, "Yeah, I mean, they may shoot me to death, but at least the moral high ground will be mine." So
Morality doesn't exist.
I thought that was pretty humorous. He goes out and they don't immediately shoot him.
They're like, "Hey, doctor, we were expecting you. Where's your companion? We heard you always travel with a companion." He's like, "How'd you know that?"
No,
Like, we're asking the questions here. So he pulls Jackie out of the TARDIS. He's like, "This is Rose. She aged 40 years in a horrific accident yesterday, but here
with the
she
time
is."
vortex. No, he says she aged like 57 years, and then Jackie's like, "I'm only 40." Doctor's like,
Yeah, you're not
"Shh,"
kidding
and
anyone,
delusional.
Jackie.
And
And
yeah,
they
is
just
she
accept-
really 40? She must be
Nah,
like
I don't
43 at
I don't
least,
think she's
right?
40. Nah, she's not 40.
She's got to be at least 43 because it's revealed later on that all of the events of Rise of the Cybermen and Age of Steel happened 3 years ago in the alternate universe, and Jackie was only turning 40 in the alternate universe 3 years ago.
Maybe the timelines are off or something.
Maybe.
I don't know.
So, anyway, they're just like clapping for the doctor, and he's really confused, and so they go off, and they start walking the doctor through Torchwood, and Yvonne's like, "We have a saying here at Torchwood. It's our motto. If it's alien, it's ours." And then they see the TARDIS being trucked away on a truck, and the doctor's like, "Huh. Okay."
He sees Rose. Rose looks out of the TARDIS, and the doctor gives her a little nod. I thought David Tennant and Billy Piper put on better performances than they usually do, especially Billy Piper in this episode. And just based on the production order of this season, I guess it makes sense for Billy Piper. This was produced far before a few other episodes. Maybe like, well, I already did my big write out. Might as well just ham it in for the rest of the time and not really care.
Damn it, Rose.
But I thought she was pretty good in this episode, or these 2 episodes at least.
Yeah, she was pretty good. There were a couple scenes where I felt like she was either phoning it in or overacting.
I thought overall she was a lot better in season 1, just both in terms of her acting and her character. But, in the end when she's crying and stuff, I thought she did a pretty good job of it.
So the doctor is explaining some alien tech to Torchwood, and they're like, "Yep, so we basically protect the Earth from aliens. Remember that laser beam, that Death Star thing? That was us. We killed all the Sycorax." And the doctor's like, "Wow. Okay." And then she's like, "And you're a prisoner." And he's like, "Oh."
All right. They bring back, well, they reference a lot of things throughout the season, but they reference how Queen Elizabeth, Victoria, sorry, set up Torchwood.
And the doctor's like, "Oh yeah, Torchwood was the name of that house."
And they're like, "It's all for the purpose of protecting the British Empire." And the doctor's like, "Wait a minute." And they're like, "Yeah, we're planning on bringing back, a future British Empire."
Yeah, it was actually Jackie who was like, "Wait a minute." Jackie was like, "There's no British Empire." Yvonne's like, "Not yet." So
a lot of people would claim that imperialism still exists.
also, I still want to know how Torchwood existed alongside Unit without either of them like finding out about the other one or stepping on the other one's toes.
And maybe Torchwood knew about Unit. And they're just like, "We got to keep Unit in the dark. Don't do anything that would alert Unit to our existence."
Well, yeah, because Unit was ostensibly a worldwide organization.
And a lot more transparent than Torchwood, apparently. Supposedly, at least.
Which probably had to do something with the fact that it was part of the UN. Kind of like how NASA is like required by law to release all their images within like 24 hours of taking them.
Yeah, I think we've discussed this on this podcast before, and like, yeah, I don't know if that's true.
It is. No,
I
it
mean,
is.
I mean,
For
like
NASA, anyway. I don't know about unit.
supposedly it's true, but who knows what they're hiding and covering up, right?
I think NASA, of all the organizations in the government, has the least to gain by hiding
I don't know. There's a lot
things.
of sketchy stuff that NASA does. You can read it online. Yeah, a lot of sketchy budget cutting stuff.
I mean, yeah, that's why certain disasters in NASA's history happened, thanks to ignoring some engineers' advice.
Anyway, they bring the doctor to examine this weird anomaly that they're
The sphere.
examining, and we've met the scientist already, who's like, I guess, in charge of it, who's on Sudoku book 506 or whatever, because there's literally nothing to do except sit there and monitor it.
Yeah, because it apparently doesn't exist. All the instruments say it doesn't exist. They can't measure anything about it. It has no mass. It doesn't even have a form, but they can see it, so they're not really sure what's going on there.
It basically looks like a huge black sphere.
More gold. I thought it was more gold anyway. Goldy black.
It looks completely black to me, but yeah.
Turn up your screen brightness.
I guess I just thought it was black and blue, and you thought it was white and gold, to bring back that 4-year-old meme. It's actually not 4 years old, more like 2 years old. But yeah, this was a really interesting thing to add to the story, in my opinion. Not that they really went anywhere interesting with it.
No.
Could have done something a lot more interesting with it. But interesting premise and setup.
I guess. Because there's a big question of whether or not that is related to the ghost shift. And when Yvonne takes the doctor up to watch the next ghost shift, the doctor demonstrates that the void ship cracked the barrier between realities, and he demonstrates by cracking the glass with his sonic screwdriver, and he's like, so the void ship cracked the glass, and every time you ghost shift, the cracks get deeper and deeper, then all of a sudden, and then the glass just shatters. And Yvonne's like, yeah, we're not stopping the ghost shift, though.
Doctor's like, all right, fine by me.
Yeah,
They have this
just,
big countdown.
he just pulls up a chair and watches.
Yvonne's like, all right, fine. Stop it.
He like reverse psychologies Yvonne into stopping the ghost shift. And the doctor's like, thank you, because if the ghost shift went on, then I'll be dead. We forgot to mention that Adola, whatever her name is, has also convinced Mike to come get
Cyberized.
earpods in his head. And the doctor,
We see a Cyberman.
yeah, we see a Cyberman.
Not that they didn't spoil it at the end of last episode. That's not the only big reveal in this.
No.
There's another big enemy.
So they're talking, and Yvonne is asking the doctor to like explain what's going on, and the doctor's like, honestly, if I knew what was going on, I'd tell you, but I honestly don't know where the void ship came from. It's like theoretical, it shouldn't even exist. I don't know who's trying to break down the barriers between realities. You know,
It's from the void between dimensions. He knows that. He describes it as like a place where nothing exists, not even time or anything, and so that was kind of horrific. But again, they didn't really dive into that too much. They sort of just bring back Cybermen and other recurring villain.
yeah, it kind of explains how the things inside the void ship survived as long as they did, because the doctor's like, you could stay in that void ship and watch the entire universe pass by, and no time would even pass for you. It would just
Again,
happen.
really cool and interesting concept.
Yeah,
But
they didn't do anything with it. We also, it's about now that Rose like leaves the TARDIS with the psychic paper and tries to investigate on her own. She like grabs a lab coat and puts it on. She's like walking around, and apparently the psychic paper can act as like an ID card for scanning wall scanners because it opens the door. She's like, wow, that was convenient. And she shows it to Dr. Singh, and he's like, yeah, we've all got psychic training here. This is psychic paper. It's blank. And she's like, oh.
freaking Torchwood.
Oh, damn. And then we have what is actually the most underwhelming reveal of this entire story, because Dr. Singh's like, hey, Carl, can you like, I think, whatever his name was, can you go like check the door locks he got in?
Samuel, I think.
And the guy turns around, and it's Mickey.
I thought that was kind of a cool thing. He just turns around and you're like, oh, wait a minute, it's Mickey.
I just thought it was like, oh, okay. It's Mickey.
It's like all those times they reveal the master by just like panning over and he's just standing there.
Anyway, Mickey's pretty badass in this story.
Yeah, he is. This is why I think the timelines are... Well, I guess it doesn't necessarily mean the timelines have diverged based on when this takes place, which we don't really know. But it seems like Mickey has gone through a lot between Rise of Cybermen and Age of Steel and this.
Yeah, well, I mean, Pete does say the Cybermen left 3 years ago. He explicitly says that, so... Spoilers, Pete's back. Yeah, so Mickey's like, okay, I'll investigate. And then all of a sudden, the ghost shift starts. And Yvonne's like, I thought I ordered this stopped.
But all the semi-cyberized employees have started it anyway.
Yeah, they've got the like earpod things in. The doc's like, wait a minute, I've seen this technology before. Earpods.
They pull them
Apple!
out. Gotta continue that Apple branding. Pretty sure the laptops in this were MacBooks. Guess Sony didn't pay them enough this time around.
Yeah, so the doctor...
They pull out the ear pods and they look like giant ear worms, so that's kind of horrific.
Yeah, the doctor just casually is like, I'm sorry, guys, and just officially kills them, I guess. He's like, they've been dead already for a while.
They should have had monologues at the beginning.
Yeah, I don't think they needed monologues. They were pretty inconsequential. Anyway, turns out the ghost shift is too far along to stop now because I guess this is when the glass cracks, metaphorically speaking, because all the ghosts come through. There's more ghosts than ever before. We forgot to mention the kind of humorous scene where the doctor was flipping through all the TV channels and they're all just like ghost themed. The news is like, we've got ghosts. And
yeah, that's where Jackie info dumps what the ghosts are. And they don't really integrate it into the story all that well.
And there's a TV show where this woman's like, I married a ghost. He's real and I love him. And everyone starts clapping. And then there's a TV show where this lady's like running a bar and she's telling this ghost to just leave. She's like, the only spirits we serve here is gin. And then there's a weather forecast who's like, we've got a high chance of ghosts at 4 o'clock.
Yeah, I don't know how they haven't... I guess Torchwood is just good at covering things up because I guess nobody's figured out that they schedule the ghost shifts. I'm sure they don't schedule them at the same time every single day. That would just be too obvious.
Well, Jackie seems... I think they have actually figured out that they're like regular because Jackie's like, oh yeah, the 1:10 ghost shift only lasts 2 minutes.
Oh, yeah, all right.
Checks her watch till 1:12 and she's like, yep, there they go. Anyway, so there's a whole ton of ghosts and then they all materialize and Yvonne's like, what's going on? The doc's like I said, footprint doesn't look like a boot. And it's the Cybermen, the Cybermen from the other reality, not this reality Cybermen, which means technically there's like 2 realities of Cybermen in this reality at this moment.
Yeah. Yeah.
So the Cybermen are like, what's up, my dudes?
We're here to conquer you and stuff.
The doctor's like, this isn't an invasion, it's a victory. They've literally materialized all over the world at once.
Or I think Yvonne says it's an invasion, and the doctor's like, nah, they've already invaded, so this is just their victory or something like that. I don't know.
But then the void ship starts opening at the same time, which it's not really explained why the void ship starts opening at that exact moment, but it does.
Well, it's a story, so, whatever. And, surprise, it's the Mondash Cybermen. No, that would have been far too cool for the reboot. It's actually the Daleks.
Yeah. And
as soon as they revealed the Daleks, I was like, wow, it should have been the Mondash Cybermen.
And like I said last week, they actually did spoil the Daleks' return in the preview for this week's episode. If you had a good memory and actually noticed that one of the blaster bolts that appeared in the preview was a Dalek bolt and not a Cyberman
Yeah,
one.
I would definitely notice that.
I don't know, they made the Dalek ones like really distinctive in the reboot where they're like green and teal and the person like you see their skeleton before they die.
I didn't notice any of that.
I thought it was pretty distinctive. But yeah, so...
And again, you already knew what was going to happen.
I mean, I've thought that the Dalek, like, death beam in the reboot was pretty distinctive, way more distinctive than the one in the classic series, which was just where they inverted the film and the guy passes out.
No, I think that's more distinctive, because I actually remember them doing that. I don't remember the supposedly green beam thing.
Maybe you should go back and watch the preview for this week's story again.
Yeah, I'm going to go back and watch a preview, just the preview.
Yeah, because it'd be quicker than watching the entire story again.
No, I think Fear Her is actually one of the ones I'm going to go back and watch eventually, so no.
Guess you just hate yourself. And...
yeah, the episode ends there.
Yeah, this is the first time the Daleks and the Cybermen have appeared in a story together. Really makes you wonder why they haven't done that before. Seems like something they'd really try to cash in on when the show was dying in the 80s.
But no, they didn't. And like all previous two-parters, they put the preview at the end of the credits in case you don't want to spoil what's going to happen.
Yeah.
Then again, this preview offers basically no spoilers, so...
surprisingly, somehow. Then the next episode begins with Rose's monologue again, but slightly different, but she's still talking about how she dies.
And this is where the story kind of falls apart. You know, the first episode wasn't that great, but it was still pretty good. They introduced a lot of cool concepts. Didn't really go in as in depth as they could have, but they were still there. This episode, they kind of just have a lot of quote unquote action, which is just kind of poor.
Well, so it begins with Cybermen are like, "You're the doctor. We're gonna get information from you." Then they take Yvonne and Jackie for processing. The doctor's like, "Oh boy." So it begins. Everybody I love is about to die. But first, Jackie's like, "So wait, what's..." Well, actually, that doesn't happen until about 10 minutes from now, actually, because first we gotta get the Cyberman Dalek banter.
Yeah, this was kind of
I thought it was kind of funny.
Yeah, I guess. I mean, I didn't really like it as it was going on, but like looking back, I'm glad it was in the episode because like it's the first Dalek Cyberman encounter, so you might as well have some of this trash talking.
Well, yeah, so the Cybermen go to look for what was in the void ship because they're like, the void ship was not ours, and the doctor's like,
Yeah, the doctor questions them about it. They're like, "What do you need the void ship for, Cybermen?" And they're like, "Well, we don't know. It's not ours."
the doctor's like, "Wait, what?" Then the Daleks are like, "Wait, we detect other life forms here," and they like suck up Dr. Singh's brain, and they're like, "There are Cybermen here, I think." Well, they're like, "There are other things here that we don't know." And
yeah, that was the probably most horrific part of this, was seeing Singh's charred body fall to the floor.
Yeah, because they like all attach their suckers to his head and then suck out the information, I guess, and then he just dies. And Rose is like, "You didn't need to kill him." And then the Dalek has this super witty line that was like, "Neither did we need him alive." And I'm like, wow, it's true, I guess.
Anyway, I wish I could remember some of the one-liners in between the Daleks and Cybermen, but
I can remember them. So the Cybermen, like, there's this tense scene where the Cybermen's like turning a corner and the Doctor and Jackie and Yvonne and the Cybermen are watching on a screen, and another tense scene at the same time where a Dalek's turning a corner and Rose, Mickey, and the Daleks are watching, and then they see each other and Rose is like, "Oh shoot, it's the Cybermen." And the Doctor's like, "Oh god, it's the Daleks." And then the Cybermen's like, they go back and forth about who's going to identify first.
Oh yeah.
And then the Daleks are like, "Daleks do not take orders." The Cybermen's like, "You have self-identified as Daleks."
Dalek's like, "Oh shoot, you're right."
The Dalek's like, "Oh wait, you match the visual profile of the Cybermen, but you look also kind of different, so we're not really sure." And then they like go back and forth a bit. The Cybermen trash talk the Daleks about how they have no they don't look good. The Daleks are like, "Daleks have no concept of elegance," and the Cybermen are like, "That is evident."
So yeah, pretty dumb stuff overall, but enjoyable, I guess.
The Cybermen try to team up with the Daleks, and the Daleks are like, "We're far superior to you." And as it turns out, it's true. The Cybermen are like...
Cybermen, I think, at some point say, like, "We have millions and millions of soldiers," and the Daleks are like, "We can defeat you with 4.
Well, yeah, the Cybermen are like, "We have millions of soldiers and you have 4 Daleks. You plan to beat us with 4 Daleks?" And the Daleks like, "We would destroy you with 1 Dalek." So, you know, the Cybermen are like, "Well, that's great."
So yeah, I think the Daleks really won this round. I think this rap battle can be...
It's true. Dalek v Cyberman rap battle. Round 1, I think, goes to the Daleks. Round 2 through whatever, I think, also go to the Daleks.
Cybermen basically got totally destroyed in all of this.
Yeah, the story really, like, ruins any, like, credible threat that Russell T had built up around the Cyberman in Age of Steel and Rise of the Cybermen, which he didn't write, but...
I mean, they also do the thing that the reboot always does, which is, like, and this happens basically right now, that you see the Cybermen basically taking control of London, I guess, and they just do that thing where it's like, well, they've already taken control and you're expected to just believe it when you've seen like 2 seconds of them marching through empty streets.
I mean, they do it better here, though, because we do get a shot of a Cyberman in a house and a family like cowering in a corner and the Cybermen chasing them up the stairs, and then there's another Cyberman up the stairs.
It's so quick.
And then we see the Cybermen like materialize in Paris. And also, they choose the Taj Mahal to represent
the British Empire.
Not Europe.
No, imperialism definitely doesn't exist anymore.
And so now is when they actually take Jackie and Yvonne for processing. Because they're like, we've won. We're just going to convert all of you to Cybermen. Meanwhile, the Daleks are like, the Genesis Arc must be protected. And Rose is like, what's the Genesis Arc?
It's the Genesis arc of the Daleks.
Indiana Jones and the Genesis Arc of the Covenant.
You mean the Raiders of the Lost Genesis arc?
Or that. So the Daleks are like, we need you. And Rose somehow pieces together that means they need like her handprint, because when she touched the Dalek in Dalek, it came back to life because she had traveled through time, and like time travel particles are a thing apparently. And yeah.
Yeah, I think the next couple of minutes of the episode are sort of just running from place to place.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, so the Doctor escapes because Jake shows up with his posse of cyberbusters.
The alternate universe crew just materializes in this universe. The Doctor's like, wait a minute, you can't do that. And Jake's like, well, we just did.
The Doctor's like, yeah, I guess that void ship really did... I guess the void ship crashed through both realities, and that's why there's a way between them, because you shouldn't be allowed to go between them.
Based on what the Doctor says later, or maybe it was before, it was sometime in the episode, about how there are like millions or like unlimited amounts of realities. You know, I kind of wonder why only these two were connected. But yeah. Whatever.
They're connected because of story purposes.
Yeah.
So the Doctor gets captured by Jake and the crew, and they take him to the other world, and Pete's like...
It's all blue, like the Matrix.
Pete's like, yeah, so we basically have a golden age.
The real world in the Matrix, that is, which is all blue. The actual Matrix is all green.
The Cybermen just up and left 3 years ago because we trapped them in the facilities, and then people like started arguing that they're life forms, so we should give them rights, but then they just up and disappeared. We're like in a golden age right now. Harriet Jones is president, and the only problem is that global warming is a thing.
Prime Minister.
President in the alternate reality. Remember, they have the president of England instead of prime minister in Pete's
world.
Oh
yeah. Huh.
And then he's like, yeah, so global warming is like being accelerated by massive rate. And the Doctor's like, yeah, because you keep jumping between realities and it's tearing your reality apart. And Pete's like, oh, is that why? And the Doctor's like, yeah.
I mean, I guess we can just assume that the Doctor's right. I mean, I wonder how he knows this. Maybe global warming is just much more of a problem in that universe.
Also, we forgot to mention in the previous episode, in the first episode, Yvonne talks about how when they discovered that tear between the realities, they like built a skyscraper in London to access the tear because it's 66 floors up or something like that. The Doctor's like, you built a skyscraper to access a temporal tear? Like, how much money do you have? And Yvonne's like, enough.
Obviously.
Turns out Mickey and the gang like crashed the alternate reality Torchwood and basically took over all their tech, and that's why they have all this cool tech. They're basically running Torchwood now, but as a more benign and benevolent facility than the way Yvonne is running the real Torchwood. Yeah, Pete's basically the head of Torchwood now. She was just doing her duty,
as she says right before she gets cyberized.
She was just doing her duty for Queen and country.
So Pete makes a request to the Doctor. He's like, you gotta help us, Doctor.
The Doctor's like, do I have to? And he's like, yeah, I'm not letting you go back if you don't help us. And the Doctor's like, I guess I have to.
So they devise this plan to open the void and suck all the Cybermen in.
Well, they don't have that plan just yet, because the Doctor hasn't figured out how he's gonna... He hasn't figured out how he's gonna destroy all the Cybermen the Daleks yet, because he asked Pete, like, do you really think I can close the void, destroy all the Cybermen, and destroy all the Daleks? Because Pete's like, you gotta close the void. The Doctor's like, but that leaves all the Cybermen on my side. And Pete's like, yeah, well, that's your problem.
Yeah, Pete's not really being very persuasive in getting the Doctor to help him.
But the Doctor decides to help because, I don't know, Rose is over there or something.
Well, Pete says that the Doctor asks, do you really believe I can do this? And Pete is like, yeah, I do. And the Doctor's like, oh, okay then, I guess I can do it.
Yeah, so they go back in. The Doctor comes up with this preliminary plan to pit the Cybermen versus the Daleks. He's like, well, at least the Daleks will wipe out a bunch of the Cybermen, so that'll be good. So he goes over there and he surrenders to the Cybermen because he realizes that Jake's gun can at least affect the Daleks somewhat because of something. I don't know, Torchwood tech. And so he gives it to the Cybermen. And
The
then
Daleks have force fields, as we've seen before.
yeah.
They have them here too.
We also forgot to mention Rose and Mickey were talking, and Mickey's like, I can teleport out, but I can only take one of us. And Rose is like, well, they only need one of us, so like you should just go. And Mickey's like, yeah, I'm not gonna go. And yeah, that was the whole point of that scene. The Daleks try to like get Rose to like to touch the thing, and she's like, yeah, I destroyed the Emperor. And the Daleks like, wow.
Yeah, Rose is being really intimidating to the Daleks. It's working, I guess.
Yeah.
I guess as we find out later that these Daleks are different than normal Daleks.
Yeah. The doctor comes in and is like, what's going on, my dudes? And so the Rose is like, these Daleks have
The
names.
Rose. I guess it's only fitting since she's leaving in 2 seconds.
And the Dalek's like, oh, you guys have names. Interesting. And they like say their names. They're like Dalek Sek and Dalek Thal. And those are the only two I remember. I don't know. Yeah, Dalek Thal. Dalek Sek is the only one that I think... Oh yeah, and Dalek Khan. Either Dalek Sek or Dalek Khan is the one who teleports away at the end, which is the only reason why they're important.
I don't know. They sort of give their backstory, which is that to understand, I guess, other life forms, the Daleks named themselves and tried to get in the heads of beings with emotions, I guess.
Yeah, the Doctor said that it was only a legend. They're called the Cult of Skaro.
Wow, real creative name there. Real great, Russell T. It's Cult of Skaro. Just some fan fiction level thing right there.
The Doctor thought they were just a legend, but...
And again, the entire reboot kind of feels fan fiction-y, but... season 2 at least.
Yeah, season 2. The Daleks reveal that the Genesis Arc was like Time Lord technology and can only be opened by touch, and the Doctor's like, wow, Time Lords are really smart. Can only be opened by the one thing Daleks can't do. Touch.
Deep.
I mean, when you find out what's inside the Genesis Arc, it actually makes sense why they would use that method for keeping it contained. So anyway, the
Genesis Arc, we also didn't mention, looks like a Dalek.
Yeah.
So you kind of think like, oh, it's just a single Dalek that's inside there, so what's important about this one Dalek, but you find out more about that later.
Mm-hmm. So then
I guess you find out you're wrong later if that's something you thought.
The Cybermen bust in through the door and they're like, we're going to kill you. And the Dalek's like, we're going to kill you. And then they're like, there's a firefight that goes on, and Mickey kind of trips and touches the Genesis Arc and they leave. And Mickey's like really apologetic about it. And the Doctor's like, yeah, it doesn't matter, Mickey. They would have forced us to touch it eventually. So you kind of just did us a favor by speeding up the process, to be honest.
Yeah, the middle of this episode is kind of...
Janky,
I guess, yeah. And that it's just not very interesting.
A lot of Cybermen and Daleks are fighting, and a lot of Cybermen get killed. A lot of things die in these 2 episodes. Like, I think more so than any other reboot episode so far.
Probably. I mean, Dalek had, I think, the most that aren't going to be counted as a letter, because I think we're going to be counting most of these as a letter on our death count.
Yeah, there's a couple that like die in single frames, which we're counting individually, but the ones that die in like wide angle shots, it's like not even worth it because so many are dying. It's not even... The Cybermen, realizing that they have a problem, order all Cybermen towards Torchwood Tower. Got to mention that Yvonne got cyberized, but Jackie manages to escape because Jake appears right at that moment and kills the Cyber Leader, and the Cybermen like moving Jackie along is like, Cyber Leader is destroyed, I must become new Cyber Leader. Not sure why this one Cyberman decides to take command.
But yeah, Yvonne is cyberized, but she still retains some of her former self, and she kills some Cybermen.
Yeah,
and you see her cry. You see her cry, which begs the question: do these Cybermen? Is this just a mask that these Cybermen are wearing? Do they still have some human?
Well, she like cries oil, so Yvonne's like obviously a special case in some way.
I mean, I don't know. She looked pretty... I didn't think it was oil. It just looked like tears to me.
It looked definitely like black and more viscous than tears.
No,
for sure. I'm like 100% on this one.
Nah, I'm 100% that it didn't, so...
I think you should go back and watch it.
But anyway, I mean, it's just something interesting. Like, do the Cybermen actually still have like their human... These Cybermen, at least, actually still have their human face inside the mask? Maybe. I don't know.
I don't think so. I think Vaughn mentions like they're going to take the brain
Cybermen
out
from 10th Planet definitely did, because you can just see their human face with the the cling wrap
Fabric.
mask. No, no.
And then, so Jackie meets up with the crew, and they're going, and
The doctor puts on the 3D glasses and he's like, "You guys have come into contact with time nonsense."
with the void.
Yeah, void particles, I think is what it was. The only one who hadn't was Jackie.
Yeah, he doesn't actually say that till they get to the top floor, because the doctor sees the Genesis Arc flying out the building. He's like, we gotta get to the top floor so we can see what's going on. So they go 45 stories up to the top floor. Jackie apparently went down 45 stories by stairs, and then took the lift back up, because Jake's like, we can always take the lift. But yeah, at the top they see the Genesis Arc, and the doctor's like, oh, Time Lord technology, it's bigger on the inside, because Daleks just start flying out of the Genesis Arc, and the doctor's like, it was a Dalek prison. That makes sense. Why didn't I realize that?
You just see all these Daleks flying out and they're just like, nice. Nice.
But yeah, the Daleks at one point also asked the doctor how he survived the Time War, and he's like, by fighting on the front lines. I was there when Arcadia fell, and maybe one day I'll come to terms with that. And then he's like, well, how did you guys survive? You ran away. And they're like, no, we didn't. No, we didn't. And Doc's like, yeah, you kind of did.
So I guess just slowly revealing more about this thing that seems kind of important in the overarching story of the reboot.
Yeah.
But then again, not that interesting. At least not yet.
Yeah, because we only know fragments of it. The most interesting part of it is that the Doctor was the one who ended it all and killed both his own race and the Daleks in one swoop. Although we don't know how or why yet.
I guess. I mean, they do a pretty poor job of the whole coming to terms with it thing in this episode, at least, because when he delivers that line, it seems like he's totally come to terms with it.
Yeah.
But I guess I'll see where they go.
Honestly, the 12th Doctor has the best coming to terms with the Dark, and not because he's coming to terms with the Time War, but because he's coming to terms with the things that he did in the name of the Time War after the Time War was over, but we'll get there. So, then what happens is the Doctor, then he puts on the glasses and reveals that he's been wearing them so much because he can see the void stuff with them on. I'm like, oh, thank God they actually explained that. And then the Doctor's like, oh, if we open the void, we can just suck all the void stuff things through. And then Rose is like, but that would include like all of us. And the Doctor's like, yeah, which is why you gotta go to the other reality.
And she's like, nah, I'm not going. Because I made that promise at the beginning of this episode. Actually, at the beginning of the last episode, so no.
And the Doctor's like, And he just slips his transporter over her neck, and then they just go. And like Pete takes all his posse with Jackie and Mickey, and they go to the other universe. And the Doctor's like, yeah, that worked out really well, because the Doctor like picks up the maglev things that we forgot to mention, which apparently let you lift like 2 metric tons. The Doctor's going to use them to hang on when he opens the void so he doesn't get sucked in.
Yeah.
And then Rose is like, no, he's not doing that to me again. And transports back, and the Doc's like, you're never going to get to see your own mother again, you know? She's like, yeah, I made my choice.
Yeah, so pretty interesting here. I mean, like I mentioned before, I liked Rose more in this episode than I have all season, really, so...
Yeah, well, brace yourself
do things.
For the 15-minute drawn-out departure scene.
I mean, basically from now until the end of the episode, I thought it was pretty good.
Okay, wait. Before I say what I want to say, because the ending of the story, like, kind of irks me. But they do that, and all the stuff gets sucked through, but then, like, the lever's coming unhinged, so Rose, like, tries to pull it back to keep it locked, so the stuff keeps getting sucked in, and then she loses her grip, and Pete all of a sudden shows up, grabs her, and teleports to the reality, and like, at least Rose is safe. And then they have this emotional moment where Rose is like, no, take me back, and then Pete's like, pushing the button, he's like, doesn't work, the Doctor closed it.
Rose is going over to the wall, and she's crying, and surprised the Doctor's at the same wall.
In the other reality.
Yeah.
And in my opinion, there's like a black screen. The Doctor like walks away solemnly, and there's like a black screen. And in my opinion, it should have just ended there. To me, that would have been way more emotionally impactful than what happens next. But then they decide to draw it out for 8 more minutes.
By going to Norway.
8 more minutes.
Well, okay, the thing I don't like about the sort of ending thing is I just wish we got like some establishing scene, like Rose is settled into like her life before she met the Doctor, but basically in this other universe. But we don't actually get that. We just go right into the trip they take.
Mm-hmm. Well, so Rose is like hearing her name, Rose, Rose being whispered to her in her sleep, so she tells Mickey and Pete and Jackie, and they're like, we should go find where the voice is coming from. Then they just go to Norway.
Yeah, we get some driving. We get some scenes or shots of them driving, and then later they reveal that they went all the way to Norway. I was like, wait, what? I guess they got on a ship because, like, yeah, I guess they had to get on a ship at some point. Spend thousands, probably, of pounds to get to Norway for this 2-second conversation.
Yeah, so the Doctor's like there in Norway. He's like really fuzzy.
They're just on a beach in the middle of nowhere, which is where the monologue at the beginning of the story was taking place.
He's like, you're fuzzy, and the Doctor like uses a sonic screwdriver to improve the picture quality, and he's like, there's like a tiny
Should
crack.
have done that in 1944 or whatever. 1953 or whatever. I forgot what the story was called, but
there's like a tiny crack still between the universes that's rapidly closing.
The
It's a
Doctor's
supernova.
and the Doctor's he's in the TARDIS, but he's orbiting this supernova thing.
And he's like using the tiny crack to beam, I guess like
An image of himself.
through, a la Luke Skywalker.
I didn't really have a problem with that part. Like,
No, that didn't bother me. What bothered me was that now they have this super melodramatic scene where Rose is like, I miss you, Doctor. Come with me. And the Doctor's like, I can't. I legitimately can't. And Rose is like, I love you, Doctor. And the Doctor's like, if I never get a chance to say it again. And then his picture just cuts out right at that moment. Because you could totally tell that's exactly when it was going to cut out.
I love you, Doctor. Yes, same here. And then just...
I love you too, the band.
But yeah, it cuts out right as the Doctor's about to say it. And yeah, all right. I was okay with that.
I just thought it was like really melodramatic and like they really overplayed it. And like,
kind of. I mean, maybe...
The Doctor was kind of like even dismissive of Rose's affection for him in the story up until like that point right there. There's like a couple scenes where Rose is like, I could stay with you. And the Doctor's like, yeah, maybe.
Yeah, but maybe... I don't know. I mean, I kind of like it because, maybe he's just hiding his true feelings for Rose. In the end, he's finally like, well, this is my last chance to see Rose. Might as well just come out and say it. But then, of course, he gets cock-blocked by
the universe. There's the title of the episode.
But yeah, whatever. I mean, the Doctor-Rose romance was kind of garbage anyway, so...
Yeah, but now we get awesome setup for the Christmas special because the Doctor's like crying and then he looks up and then there's just a lady in a wedding gown in the TARDIS and he's like, wait, what?
It's like, where the hell am I? Who are you?
And he's like, what? What? And then it just ends like, yeah.
Yeah, that was the thing I didn't like about the ending. I wish they just ended it with Rose, give Rose just a proper ending, just focusing on her. I mean, she's basically the main character of the past
when
2
you've
seasons.
seen the next entire season and how the next entire season is the Doctor pining after Rose and it really makes you hate what they did with that, you're gonna wish that they did more things like this where they just moved on real quick.
So Rose isn't dead to the show yet, huh?
No, and that's why I kind of hate her.
Is she just the Adric of the reboot where she just won't die? We didn't mention that Rose is officially dead in her original universe.
I also didn't like how they kind of like copped out. They were like, I'm gonna die, and then it was like, she didn't really die.
It's kind of dumb. She's just officially dead.
They shouldn't have played it up so much that she was going to die if they were going to do that. I would have been more okay with it if they hadn't played up, I'm going to die so much.
Yeah, I don't know.
But yeah, anyway, the bride is Donna Noble, my favorite companion of the reboot, even though she's not officially a companion till like way later. So she kind of gets a one-off appearance before she gets brought back.
Well, whatever. I already know Jack is coming back. I already spoiled that long ago. Spoiled that a long time ago.
Anyway, yeah, so looking forward to that episode next week. I remember really enjoying it the first time I watched it.
I guess I'll look forward to it too. Rose is gone now, and she was, I guess, basically the defining character of the reboot. She's basically the only character who's been in every episode of the reboot so far.
Yeah, like I said, she's not really gone.
Well, she's gone in body, but not in spirit. But I guess we should do a Rose retrospective.
Yeah, Yeah, we
I
should.
really liked her. You know, I despite all the flaws in season two, despite all the garbage that they they decided to go for in season two, I obviously really liked her season one character, and I think that's actually par for the course for most people who watch season one and two of the reboot is that they really like Rose in season one, and in season two she kind of just falls apart. But
Yeah.
despite all that, I thought she was a good character, especially one to bring back. Reintroducing the show almost 20 years later. No, 15ish years later.
Yeah. They really developed her character a lot in the first season, and they really focused on how she was just a regular girl before she met the Doctor, and then now she's traveling with this really mysterious man and seeing all these things, and now she can never go back to her old life. And then in season two, they kind of made her really holier than thou. Just really annoying. She got really entitled, I think is the word I'm looking for, with her travels with the Doctor.
I guess, yeah.
She it started to kind of feel like she thought that the fact that she loved the Doctor and that he probably loves her back was like a free ticket to do whatever she wanted.
I liked how they brought her back to her, well, not actually her own time in universe, but her own situation before she became a companion of the Doctor, because I guess that's what happens with a lot of the classic show companions like Ian and Barbara and a lot more, Ben and Polly, but they never really played it up as much, so it was never really as in the forefront of your mind as much. So
right, she kind of she ends up happier than when she started because she has her dad back, and also we've got to reveal that Jackie is pregnant again.
Yeah.
Oh boy. There's also the fact that they kind of brought back the whole can never go back to being regular thing in this story.
Kind of did. She did. So.
She did, but they were kind of bringing it back to she was talking with Jackie in the TARDIS while the Doctor was triangulating the position of the ghosts, and was like, I used to work in shops and now I see all these things. And Jackie's like, I work in shops. Is there something wrong with that, Rose? Is there something wrong with working in shops, Rose? And Rose is like, I didn't mean it like that. And Jackie's like, I know what you meant.
You meant it like that, Rose.
Yeah, you meant it like that. You meant it like that.
Yeah, that scene actually sort of made me dislike season two a lot more, because it felt like it could have come right at the end of season one. That's something they dove into in Bad Wolf and Parting of the Ways, so it almost felt as if the entirety of season two just never happened.
Yeah.
Which season two was just weaker overall, so I guess we'll get into that in a second, because I don't really have much more to say about Rose.
Yeah, I don't really have much more to say either, except for the fact that her shadow looms large over the rest of Russell T's run, which is why right now, based on season 1 and 2 Rose, I don't dislike her that much. I actually do like her, but the fact that her shadow kind of is omnipresent
God,
really, I think, was a bad choice and really irritates me. But we'll see. We'll see if it still irritates me when I watch it all again.
Yeah, well, I mean, I guess I didn't really know about Rose supposedly being around in name and in thought for the next season or next couple of seasons, but I think this was a good place to write her out. Kind of felt like they exhausted all the things they could possibly do with Rose.
Yeah.
So.
Anyway, this season, definitely weaker than season 1, which is kind of weird because season 1 was pretty good, and you'd think that they just do that and be good.
Maybe they were like, well, we're bringing it back, and it's not going to be popular, so we're only going to come up with one season of good material. No, I'm pretty sure they had planned at least a couple seasons of this.
Yeah, there's definitely a lot more weaker stories. I mean, I think there were some strong stories this season, for sure.
No, there definitely were, like I mentioned when in that episode, Satan Pit and Impossible Planet is basically my favorite story of the reboot.
Tooth and Claw was pretty strong. Girl in the Fireplace was alright. Rise of the Cybermen Age of Steel, I thought, was pretty good.
They were mostly just all mediocre, with I guess one standout for me, and then just a couple really bad ones. So
yeah, Fear Her and Love and Monsters were just
those are just some of the worst in the entire 50-year history. Honestly,
New Earth was
also not great.
Wasn't great. Yeah, it was okay, really.
So I mean, just basically a mediocre season overall.
Also, the Torchwood arc, I feel like, was less satisfying than the Bad Wolf.
Oh yeah, definitely was.
Arc. Just because I
That's
think the resolution was a lot different than the Bad Wolf arc, and Russell T, I think, didn't know how to weave in references to Torchwood into everything when Torchwood was like an actual government agency that's like hunting down the Doctor.
Yeah, that was something that was weird to me because I thought Torchwood was a lot less effective than Bad Wolf, but at the same time, it's a bigger part of several of the stories in this season, like Tooth and Claws, when Torchwood was established.
Yeah.
Whereas Bad Wolf was just sort of a reference until the final 2 or 3 episodes of that season.
Yeah. It's kind of like Russell T didn't want to do just what he did with Bad Wolf, which would have worked fine with Torchwood, and he wanted to actually like have them be an established name as soon as the season started and have you know what it is.
Yeah, it definitely felt a lot less mysterious. So maybe that was part of Bad Wolf's appeal is that like if you notice it, it's like, wait a minute, what is this thing that keeps coming up again and again?
Well, I think it could have worked.
If they didn't reveal what Torchwood was.
Well, no, I think revealing it could have worked if they had made Torchwood more of a credible threat, because it seemed like in Tooth and Claw they were setting Torchwood up to be this overarching almost enemy of the Doctor for the whole season. The way like Victoria says that Torchwood's going to hunt down the Doctor and hunt down alien technology, but then after that story, Russell T reverted back to just the coy Torchwood references in all the stories, like he did with Bad Wolf.
Huh.
I think if he had like if there had been another story, like maybe after Rise of the Cybermen, Age of Steel, where the Doctor finds out what Torchwood is and that they're coming after him, and he like has to run away from them, and then we get the finale where Torchwood finally captures him, it would have been a lot more satisfying.
Probably, yeah.
But they didn't do that, which is a bummer. Which is a bummer.
Well, I'm hoping that the companion change and relatively new Doctor will make sure that season 3 feels as enjoyable to watch as season 1, I guess.
Yeah, there's definitely, I think, some new things coming. We've got a new overarching plot, obviously, because that's kind of par for the course for the reboot, really.
Yeah.
So we'll have a new overarching plot. We'll have a new companion, not next week, but the week after, because the Christmas special. I was actually reading. Apparently, this Christmas special was intended to be an episode of Series 2, but then when the BBC was like, "Hey, we want a 2006 Christmas special as well," Russell T moved it to to Christmas time as a Christmas special instead, and used it to kind of bridge between the seasons, so that he wouldn't have to introduce a new companion like immediately. He could like create sort of a buffer. So it'll be interesting. It's kind of a bummer that season 2 was weaker than season 1, but I think season 2 is kind of the low point of Russell T's run, in my opinion. So we'll see. Moving forward in the next couple months, it's going to take us a little while still to get to Stephen Moffat. Anyway, you can email us at thedoctor@decorativevegetable.com. Questions, comments, concerns, angry rants, love letters, your thoughts on Rose Tyler. Leave a rating if you liked the show. Be sure to check out our other podcasts, Triple Play and Zenith, talking about movies and Blake 7, respectively. You can find us on YouTube at Decorative Vegetable, because we've consolidated our YouTube channel into one. You can find us on Apple Podcasts and Google Play at Trust Your Doctor. Be sure to leave a rating if you like the show.
Check us out on Facebook, Trust Your Doctor. Like us on Facebook. Also check us out on Twitter at TYD Podcast, and follow us on Twitter. And next time we're watching The Runaway Bride, but until then, the end.